Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be doing Soviet medium tanks. Now, as you can see, the first one right here is a T-28 model 1936. These bad boys were produced from 1933 to 1938. 500 of them were actually produced, which is kind of crazy that they got these many of these land battleships made, right? So as you can see, it's got three different turrets operating here. Two with machine guns, one with the short barrel 76 and an extra machine gun. And it's even got a machine gun in the back, just in case, you know. So it's trying to figure their lives out when they made this, but it's kind of funny looking tank, and it's nice for infantry support. So this thing has 30 armor on the turret and 30 armor generally on the hull. As you can see, it can vary a little bit. This gun on it isn't the best. Has a range of 170 with its high explosive that I just used. Its armor piercing high explosive ballistic cap has a range of 160 with 34 millimeters of penetration. So this thing's pretty much going to be able to get through light tanks, and that's about it. It's going to struggle versus other medium tanks that it's going to be facing. So just be aware that this thing kind of a little bit garbage. You can buy these in early war doctrine just for manpower, any doctrine. They don't come in any specific doctrine, at least the model 1936. So yeah, they did not do great in the Winter War because they struggled in the terrain. But next is the same thing, model 1938. As you can see, has an improved gun on it. Yeah, just a little bit improved gun. So the improved gun is going to actually make its armor piercing better. So it's going to have a range of 180 with both its armor piercing high explosive ballistic capped and its high explosive. And its penetration is going to be 46 millimeters. So this gun's actually going to be kind of a threat to enemy tanks that you might be facing. So cool thing about that one, it's going to have better armor piercing penetration, same armor. But cool thing about this one, only 131 of these were produced from 1938 to 1940. Can't believe they're still making these in 1940. But his gun was actually effective against the early Panzer IIIs and Panzer IVs because their armor was typically around 30 millimeters of armor, and this thing can get through 43. So it was actually a threat to the Germans early war. So they need to keep out. Even the Panzer IV F1 only has 30 millimeters of armor. So early war, this thing can still be pretty good. Not a bad choice. It comes with the all-around early doctrine. 7-second reload on its gun. Now the exact same copy is this T-28 Echo, or E, but it has a lot better armor. As you can see, they slapped on a lot of armor slabs, making about 50 to 60 millimeters of armor roughly. It's a pretty effective little tank. It comes out, this comes for offensive early war, and they actually up-armored about 100 of these guys. So most all of these guys got converted to have the better armor. And they used a couple of these in defense of Leningrad, actually, and they stayed in the city for a little bit. So, fun fact. These guys stayed viable, mainly as fixed positions, but still, you know, it's stayed pretty sustainable. If I am going to use one, I do use this one because, number one, I like to get offensive, and number two, it's got pretty decent armor. It's hard to penetrate early war. AT rifles are going to struggle versus it, and so are tanks. And can actually kill other tanks pretty easily. So not a bad choice for early war. Next, we're going to move into the iconic T-34. This is the first version of T-34. T-34 model 1940. That's why it looks a little janky. You probably don't recognize the turret on it. So this one has a typical 45 millimeters of sloped armor on the hull. Says 100, but 100 is only in the very center. Makes it almost equal to 100, like 90 when it's sloped, which is pretty good. Now, this is going to be pretty hard to penetrate for pretty much every tank that the Germans are going to have up until the 88's call-ins. Now, this thing was produced from 1940 to 1941. About 400 were made, so the Germans definitely faced these in Operation Barbarossa, and they were certainly a shock. It's going to have 45 millimeters of armor up by the gun mantlet, which is actually its weak point, because it's a flat armor that you can hit as opposed to the sloped armor. Its gun was a little bit underperforming as it has the 76mm L11, L30.5. Now it can get through 50 millimeters of armor, so it's going to be able to penetrate most all your early war tanks, but it can't struggle versus once the later versions of Panzer IIIs and 4s came out, it can struggle actually a little bit. It has 190 range for its gun, which is pretty good for early war, and you can get this with either all round early, or you can get two of them with with the support doctrine and early war. Overall, pretty good tank, early war, and that's the only place you'll find this bad boy. Now we're gonna move on to one of the more produced models. So this is a T-34 model 1941. Looks a little bit more familiar. It's like the early war version. No one really sees this, but they see this. As you can see, it's got the upgraded gun. It's got pretty much the same armor. I think the turret was slightly simplified. As you can see, a little bit changes around here. But this thing can get through 54 millimeters of armor with its gun. So it has about 45 sloped and 45 up here. Still same weaknesses really, but it's got a better gun. Now 2,800 of these bad boys were made from 1940 to 1942. And this is mainly what the Germans were facing in Operation Barbarossa. This was some of these in support as well, but this was definitely a nasty shock. Them lacking radios at the beginning. This one obviously does have a radio, as you can see by the little antennas over there. So this one, but they're really lacking radios and not coordination. Using them made them fall pretty easy victim to the Panzer IIIs and even Panzer 38s. We're able to mobilize them sometimes. So let's move on to the next one. Probably one of my favorites. Now this one you can actually. This one can actually be bought later in the game as mid and late war as one of the options, the cheaper options. But this T-34 1941E is just the armored one. As you can see, this is when they add extra armor. It has a 45 plus 15 pretty much all around it. So they use this one in the cities because extra armor is going to be needed around the cities where you can get flanked a lot. They use it for defending operations around actually supporting Moscow, like the defense of Moscow. So some of these were built up for that. And only 150 were converted. It's not a bunch of them, but because it made them a lot slower, made them actually kind of slower than the KV-1, but it made their armor pretty dang effective. And this thing can be very hard to take out. It was actually mistook from a new type of tank when it was first seen because, like, from the front, this thing kind of looks janky as hell. It looks different, but yeah, you can get the support in mid-war, and it is a pretty cool little tank. So I would recommend using this. Now we're going to move on to the next model, T-34 model 1941, 57mm. So it's the same armor as this one and everything, but it has a 57mm gun. So this is like the ZIS-2 gun, 57mm. It's like very, very good and accurate at killing tanks. So it can get through, it has 200 range, which is pretty iconic for the early T-34s because most of them all have 190 range, 190, 190, 200. Now this can get through 79mm of armor, which can be pretty damn good and penetrate most German tanks. And its high explosive is pretty lacking. It only has a 180 range, and it's not very impressive with the 57mm. Armor is pretty much the same. As you can see, 45 right here, 45 right here. Same weak points, but it is a really, it's a tank killer in mid-war. You get this with a mid-war irregular doctrine, so make sure you use this bad boy. Probably my favorite T-34 up until late war. So mid-war is my favorite T-34 for sure, and probably one of the most effective ones. This one's good, but this one's the most effective for sure. Now we're going to, by the way, only about 20 of these were made, 1940, and then they made another 20 in 1943. Since they had the lacking high explosive, they weren't really liked by their crews, but they're usually assigned to like elite tank crews with experience, and they were given to anti-tank specific units. They were just basically go out there killing tanks with these guys, which is what they really excelled at, so that's what they should have been doing. Next is the model 1942. Now the model 1942, as you can see, about, let's see, how many of these bad boys? 1942 to 43 they were made. 12,500 of these bad boys were made. So they were made in huge numbers. And same range, 190. Had a little bit better shell, 61mm penetration. So it's pretty good. Better than its predecessors in the 1941 versions. Got better shells. And I think it has, better shells. That's pretty much it. And as you see, starting to see the simplified design. These are the main things that, main tanks that were used in the Battle of Stalingrad. So, Battle of Stalingrad, these were getting churned out without even paint on them. It's pretty cool, and they were doing them a lot better because they have 53mm on the turret now, and it's 45 still on here in most places. Not a bad tank, and you can buy it throughout the mid and late war. So, nice little tank. Let's see, moving on to the T-34 model 1942 57mm, same thing as the other one, uses the same gun, 200 range, and it has 79 penetration. Only difference is it has an APCR round that can get 87mm penetration at 200 range, so a little bit better gun. Same thing, about 20 of these were made, especially for anti-tank units they're used. They're kind of trying to experiment with these, but they ended up going with the T-34-85 that we'll talk about later. All right, moving on to the model 1943. So the big change with this one that you'll notice is it has a commander's cupola to actually help the commander have a little bit more overview for what's going on in the battle. 20,000 of these bad boys were made from 43 to 44, And difference is this one has APCR that can get through 45 millimeters of armor at its 190 range, but does really, really good up close. So you can actually get through tigers with them, with up close with these bad boys. This is your mainstay of your tanks in the Battle of Kursk, and as you can see, you can start to recognize the Mickey Mouse kind of looking pattern because that's where they from these turrets where they're trying to get out. Looks a little bit, you can see it on this one, but it's starting to really appear here with the kind of looks like little Mickey Mouse ears on it. Anywho, there's also this one, the OT-34 model 1943 that you can get with the irregular during was it I think it's blanking on which doctrine. Oh, there is irregular mid-war is which one you can get. It comes with the hull mounted flamethrower, which is pretty good because it has like 80 range, which is pretty impressive for a flamethrower. But now we're gonna move on to the ultimate tanks. You're gonna stick around for these T-34-84. Actually, T-34-85, excuse me, model 1944. As you can see, this thing's got improved armor. It's got roughly 45 millimeters armor up here, but it's got 90 on the gun mainland. It's gonna be a lot stronger up here. It's got an 85 millimeter gun. It's gonna finally have that 200 range. And it's got 97 millimeters penetration with its armor piercing ballistic capped. Then with the APCR 76 millimeters, so that'll be way better up close. Also has high explosive. Now with this improved armor and as you can see other variants over here, this thing was a freaking beast. Made from 1944 to 1945. 22,500 were made during World War II, and they continue to be produced and used afterwards. So this thing was a freaking top performance of the T-34. As you can see, it's evolved quite a bit. Now, this is actually the main tank that the Soviets used by Operation Bagration, where they destroyed the Army Group Center, the Wehrmacht. And these tanks could, about 1,000 meters or closer, they could penetrate the Tiger. So you get a little bit closer to the Tiger, you can penetrate its front armor, so it can be effective. Just gotta get close to it, which is kind of scary. As you can see, there's other versions here that has, like this one has the skirts, has a little bit of frontal extra armor on it, 20 millimeters extra armor right here. And these skirts kind of supposed to help versus Panzerfaust anti-tank grenades, I think. Same thing with the sandbags, except this one is a flamethrower version. Pretty awesome. Now, this normally you can buy this in late war, but there's a call in. These two ones come in with support. One has skirts on it, has normal T-34-85 with extra armor, and the other one has sandbags and a flamethrower. Pretty damn impressive for late war support doctrine. Having two tanks just takes up a lot of your manpower. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more. And make sure you post what guides you'd like to see next. And I'll catch you in the next one.